Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another, meeting with Paco here, dear friend.
Yeah,
And
here we are.
Well, we just had a nice agenda meeting this morning, talking about AI. Who
As
would
every
have
single
guessed?
morning, every single Monday. Sorry.
Every single Monday, yeah. And yeah, really excited. Let me just get into the live events and start there too. And all right, we are already there. Great. And the thing is that those who follow us know that we talk about Claude a lot. But the thing is, all the things that we teach is independent from Claude, like our ICOR methodology for productivity end to end. It's tool agnostic. You are able to use any productivity tools. The thing that we teach is making you aware the different types of tools that you have, the different features that you might need based on these tool agnostic concepts and workflows. And the same applies for the AI team that we built and the PKA, the personal knowledge assistance system that we built to help you organize your knowledge and do daily journaling and all these things. So I showed Paco this morning, Codex and Gemini, and that's where we tested these things already, because I mentioned it already many times that you can use any model with this folder structure. It doesn't matter if it is Claude or not. The thing is, the current course is based on Claude. So people use Claude, it creates a Claude.md file and all these things. And that will be the next iteration, just to mention it here, where we now make the course neutral, that it works with any AI model. And this is much simpler than you might think, but this makes you really independent with this folder structure. That's where we double down, that you own the data, you own the folder structure, and you just pick the brain that you want to put on the folder. You can even switch on the fly. And this will be just a simple lesson that we add in the end, where we show how you can now plug in Claude, Gemini, Codex, or whatever. But the understanding of why the folders are structured the way, why we have the different files in place, and all these principles about standard operating procedures for the team, and all this will just become more obvious why we make this, because this guarantees that it's independent, that you're independent. And another thing is, I wanted to make a video about this, that I always recommend, well, Paco too, to switch off the auto memory in these tools, right? No matter if it's ChatGPT or anything else, if you have a local folder structure like this, because you are building your own memory inside this folder structure, that is much more so efficient than whatever Claude or the other models provide to you. But on top, you will be stuck inside Claude if you're using Claude Desktop and Claude Cowork, and it has this general knowledge about you that it's building up. Well, if you switch now to ChatGPT, there might be migration tools and so on. But first of all, this memory is just all over the place. It's never helping me in any way, because it self decides what to save and not based on what I tell the team to save. And on the other hand, I can very quickly switch, or I can even use 3 different models at the same time, working in the same folder. All these things are possible. And we just realized that most people are not aware of this, and they have the feeling they need to use Claude. And also when they say, well, it's so expensive, well, you use whatever you like, and then you just see for the results. But I think this will be another huge step forward for the course that we have there, and in general. Explaining it this way. Paco,
Yeah.
any
Well,
thoughts?
a lot. No, I was thinking while you were talking, because people who know me know that I'm very pragmatic, but at the same time, pragmatic. I want things to work. Okay, I want things to deliver. Okay, and but the thing is that I do love theory. Okay, because in life I have learned that with a solid foundational core of theory, you can be much more pragmatic, okay? You can save time, you can better understand the things, and also you are betting on the long term. And while you were talking, I was going through our ICOR experience. Let's not call it ICOR journey, because ICOR journey, it's the 5 courses that we have, okay? But the ICOR experience that we have had, where we always bet on principles, okay, concepts and workflows, and that allows us to use any tool stack, okay? We were able to test ICOR thanks to ourselves and our clients, okay, in any environment. It work in Microsoft environment, it work in Google environment. We even, you and me, were using different tools, but based on the same principles. Then I was thinking about the second stage, that was AI. The moment that AI emerged, okay, we kept using the exact same principles and concepts, leveraging the solid foundational core that we had. So we skyrocket our productivity system. And now, again, we have created a concepts and workflows, okay, that work no matter the AI behind, okay, no matter the LLM. And I was quite surprised because I didn't make this test, okay, of just with the current folder structure that is based on the ICOR principles, okay, because mainly it's the MyLife concept and many more that we add on top. But let's say, to simplify the thing, that it's the MyLife concept. And based on that, well, we just link to that folder the different LLMs. We made the test with Gemini, we made the test with ChatGPT in Codex, and we made the test with Claude. And it worked perfectly. That's amazing in my opinion, okay? Obviously, I expected that behavior, but the moment that you are seeing on real time that it's just a matter of 2 clicks, okay, just connecting the different LLMs to the folder and seeing that you are delivering the exact same context to the LLM, but you are working with a different LLM, because we know that every one of them has pros and cons, okay, and weaknesses and strength. But the thing is that now you are free. So let's imagine that right now, well, we are mostly working on Claude Code, but if Gemini, for instance, launches something that, well, surpasses everyone, well, we can quickly change with just 1 click, go point our folder to that LLM, and there we go. So I think that that's, again, emphasizes, okay, how important it is to have solid foundational core as a starting point, because that allows you to, well, no matter the technology that arrives to the market or is launched, it will work and it will skyrocket your performance and how productive you are.
Well,
and
it makes
I love
you
to see this in practice. Yeah,
it makes you resilient against any changes that come, and you can be reactive. You can be reactive whenever you see something, the competition launches and you want to catch up, because the system underneath will stay the same. It was the same for decades and it will last for decades. That has nothing to do with any new technology. It's just a fundamental system on how to organize information and how to manage it, to manage your action items. And we have two comments here inside the membership that I want to address exactly in this context. Mike is saying, I'm an early adopter with ChatGPT. Will I run into roadblocks or be limited? I create my AI team agent in ChatGPT. See, I guess he posted it just before we mentioned it. But the thing is here very important. ChatGPT does not has access to local folders in a sense that you can work on your local folders. That's where for OpenAI you need to use the codex, which they heavily promote now, because that's the counterpart to what Claude Desktop provides. And in Claude Desktop, you also have Claude Chat, which is useless for this type of work. You would use Claude Cowork or Claude Code in order to work on your local folders. So any model that is possible, that is able to access your local folders and work on your files locally, will be able to use the system that we teach here. Well, not only teach, that we use on a daily basis for ourselves. Even the Perplexity computer, for example, all these things will work too, because, and that's why from this ground up, when I started building this AI team and Paco built the PKA, it was always rooted in general folders and files and not specific Claude skills and Claude agents. Because Claude will use this scaffold and create this for itself, because it's currently the model using it. So it self-organizes it better, but it keeps everything in place. And I also, the test run that I did with Claude, providing a scaffold that is not made for Claude, there's referencing in there. So there is the agent.md, which is a file that the Codex and other models use instead of Claude.md. And it just creates a Claude.md to reference to this agent.md. So it's just a forwarding of the message if you want to find the right data. And that makes it so stable and resilient, because now you have a normal folder structure with your normal file system in there that you can access with other tools too. And that makes it so powerful. The other question is from David. He says, with the AI models such as Larry, is there a need for external tools such as Todoist for task management? So first of all, Larry is no AI model. Larry is just a mental concept that just gives it a better understanding. Paco is not using the name Larry in his PKA. He has probably Harry. I don't know.
Here I am.
Right?
And here I am.
You are his, right? But the thing is, we have this Larry and Nolan and Pax, these basic agents. So we have a common language. So when we talk about these agents, we know what we are talking about. That one is the orchestrator, the other one is the hiring agent to create new agents for you, and the other one is the researcher. And Paco has in his setup the same thing, and he names them differently, and other members are naming them the way they want it. And there was even one guy saying he has all the agents are car brands, right? So you can go wild whatever you like, and in our case we just teach it through Larry, as people can connect to it and better understand what this is all about. So it's just a mental model about how this team works, and that we literally create a folder structure as any human team would use as well to work with each other. That would work there this way. So the same rules apply now to AI, and it makes it so efficient to work. And talking about Todoist and task management, yes, we still use these connections to the outside. We are not using AI to manage tasks. We had a discussion about this with another member, where the calendar and all the tasks get managed through AI on the calendar. And this is something that is hard to control and to give the overview. I mean, the planning of tasks is much more complex when it comes to knowing all the moving parts, your energy levels, and well, other things on the day that you quickly reorganize if you have the right tools. And there are amazing tools out there like Todoist. That's perfect for task management. And also Sunsama for the planning over the week. But also ClickUp we still use for the project management and connecting the business goals and so on. That doesn't mean that you cannot connect it. So if you need to create a task out of a conversation that you had with Larry, that's where he creates it on Todoist, right? And then you can organize this later. And obviously, you can do whatever you like if you feel safe and sound, that it controls your setup. And that's the thing, when it comes to complexity, maybe it's working for people, but we still think there are dedicated tools for this. Paco, any thoughts on this?
We need to understand that AI came to cover the gaps. Okay, so if you don't have any gaps, and it's my case, okay, I haven't found a fastest and more reliable, no matter the device, okay, task manager like Todoist, okay, so I have no gaps there. It's impossible to improve. All my improvement in that area will be covered by Todoist, by making new releases, okay? So I got a huge development team there working for me, okay, just for, I don't know how much they charge. I think it's $60 or $100 per year. I don't know. Something that for me guarantees the ROI, okay, because I don't dedicate any of my time, because this AI and creating your own tools and all those type of things sounds like something really nice, okay? But, well, we have to think about the time that we invest in that. Sometimes it's worth it, and some of the times it's not worth it at all, okay? Obviously, I'm not going to create a ClickUp version for myself, okay, for my team or whatever, because that's crazy, okay? Those are products that are so complex, and even the simplest products, okay, like you have mentioned, Sunsama. Well, it seems that it's quite simple until the moment you start creating your own version of
Yeah.
Sunsama, okay? And you say, well, man, but I need to do, and what about the integrations? And I need to do to bring the data from these tools, and then I got the calendar and the blocks and the time slot. What the heck? You are at the end to end up with what? I mean, if you find that you have some gaps in some SAMA, well, try to see if you can cover that.
And that's also
Obviously,
applying to other tools too. That again, we have now the feeling, and we will double down on this in the coming weeks, that people think now you can replace it all with AI. You can if it is your hobby, and you
correct.
do coding and things like that. Obviously, we showed you can very quickly build simple interfaces to represent the data that you have in your folder, and this is also something we will add as additional modules in the new course update. But what we always still try to look out for is tools that are highly specialized and that remove the friction from building something for ourselves. And this especially are capturing tools, right? How do I get the information into the folder properly? How do I can capture things on the fly when I'm on mobile? And all these things. That's where tools like Tana, Paco is still using Tana, and that would be a reason for me also to switch to Tana to get everything in one place, because just for the capturing, it's not about the super tags in there, it's not about the other thing, it's about the outlining experience where I can, during a meeting, quickly jot things down, while at the same time it's actually recording the meeting, it does the transcript. So there I have a meeting recorder in there, while at the same time it also has audio recorder in there that I can use on my mobile and record myself audio messages that I can transcribe and then forward this to my local agent that then moves this into my PKA as a final destination. So that's just one example. Doesn't mean that you need Tana. The other thing is, I saw Heptabase, they now finally working on their CLI integration, which I looked it up. It's in fact just some instructions for AI they gave to it to better use the MCP they have there. And for all of you who are getting confused, it's the connection of your whatever AI you use, Claude, Gemini, to Heptabase to access your information inside your Heptabase or in your PKM tool. And what bothered me there is that I had no control over how to connect information and things like this. So they're working on this. So if you are using tools like Heptabase, Notion, and so on, it doesn't mean that you should kill these things if you have a running system that is really that's important to you, that's established. If you don't need to, right? If you have a proper structure, and they're like ClickUp, right, that I just connected it to ClickUp, so I'm able to extract the information from there or update information. So that's really important to understand that you can kill a lot of tools. And we showed it, right? I'm not using Heptabase for 2 months already, because I was always inside this folder structure. Let's see if anything changes with the new integration there. But to me, it's disconnected information that I have in an external tool. I want to have this knowledge rather directly accessible in this folder. The question is now really about the capturing. And there are many ways, like Paco just published an article about how he uses Slack directly integrated with his local agent, so he can send whatever he wants through Slack and have different threads for communication. But obviously you can integrate it with Telegram and WhatsApp or whatever, and we will provide all these individual modules too, to give you more options on how you can actually integrate this. There's no magic behind this. It's really, the important thing is this basic folder structure that we have there, but with the files in there, how everything is interconnected based on these ICOR methodology that we teach, well, in any tool that you use. And this is just replicated now in the scaffold and leveraged by AI.
Yes, because the thing is that you have to have a deep understanding of your productivity system. That's the moment that you clearly see when you can derive. For instance, we had a question in myICOR, in our platform. asking if it makes sense to forget about, the old Clay. Now it's called Mesh, I think. It's a real powerful CRM for individuals. Okay, it's not at the level of Salesforce or these big CRMs for company, but just a CRM for an individual. And for me, it was life-changing since the moment I met this tool, because, it started synchronizing all the contacts, no matter, okay, if they came from email, if they came from a new contact that I create on my iPhone, a new contact through social media. Well, everything is updated, and also it has a workflow to have your contacts live. Okay, well, right now, the moment that you're starting creating a small CRM on your own terms using this, all the tools using AI, there was a member asking if, we have migrated, or someone had migrated from Clay or Mesh to their own PKA. And for me, that's a mistake, okay? Because Mesh is not just, a place to store a name, an email, and a phone. It's something that it's connected with a lot of social media. It has an amazing graphical user interface. It works perfectly in no matter the device. If it's the iPhone, if it's the iPad. It has introduced AI so that you can, create requests there and you receive, quite optimal results. The thing is that it's doing a lot. Why am I trying to replicate that? Okay, instead, I just have, it's the old approach, okay, that I just use a small CRM for me because I want to interact with it. For instance, if I have a meeting, okay, I want to have the contacts in that meeting in my own PKA, okay, so that I can create an interaction and link that interaction to those people that I have in my custom-made, okay, CRM. But they are replicated in Clay. There's no problem. I can create again a link from my PK so that I have all the information, because in Clay or Mesh, sorry, because it was always Clay, okay, for me, I'm not used to Mesh, okay, because also I love the name of Clay.
Why do people keep switching names, man?
That tool, it's amazing. It's amazing. It, for instance, it links on autopilot with the social media channels of the people. If they have a LinkedIn profile and they update it, I receive that there's an update, so it encouraged me to contact to that people. If you have a routine, okay, that you go to Clay, or you have the notifications activated, I'm aware of the people that I care about, and I can react to them. How the heck am I going to implement that in my own PK? Because we don't have to forget that our productivity system is a partner, okay? It has to help us do the real job, okay? My real job, no matter, or Tom, that we love the world of development, okay? But we are not developers, okay? We are professionals who have some other issues and tasks to get done, okay? The thing is having behind that partner that helps me a lot. And that's why AI brought our productivity system to the next level. But that doesn't mean that everything needs to rely on our own productivity system or PKA or whatever custom-made solution we have delivered. I think that this is the exact same approach as people who met, I don't know, Notion in the last year, and they say, now everything needs to be ruled by Notion. Why? It's impossible. It's impossible. It doesn't make sense. Any tool will have strengths and weaknesses, and also obviously our custom-made, PKA or whatever we have created using AI, because it is what it is, and we need to be aware of the restrictions that we have, the limitations, and the time that we are going to dedicate to that, okay? Because every single line of code that we develop on our own, it's a layer of complexity to our own lives, okay? And we need to be aware that the more lines, okay, we put there, the more tables, the more databases, the more markdown files, the more agents, we are adding complexity to something, because no matter that our lives are quite complex, they are not so complex, okay? I always say the same. In the past, when there were no technology behind, people were doing amazing things, okay? So they were productive, they were able to organize themselves. So, obviously, we are not at those times, but we are not so far beyond that we need, and it's not easy to practice what I'm doing, because when we see the opportunities, well, we jump there like crazy nerds, okay, and start developing and trying to have everything until you pause, you make a step back, and then you realize of what are, my real weaknesses in my product system, and I will end up with this. It was filling in all the different fields that I have in my PKM system. Okay, on TAN, I have a lot of fields, so that I created manually also the connections between entities. That was for me a point of friction. Well, that was the first one that I covered with my PK. And the second one was the entry point, okay? How I journal, okay? I was journaling in MindZero to receive feedback from coaches and AI and whatever. I was saving things into day one. I was creating, a small logs of the tasks that I was doing, so that I was aware of what I was doing. Well, all that, creating my own PKA helped me a lot, because now everything is there. And also, I'm able to use AI to explain that in natural language. The entry point is natural language for me, and that's something that no other tool was able to do, to create a system that has the structure that I understand, okay?
Yeah, correct. So the important thing here that you mentioned is, and that's what people need to really think about, why am I using the tool? Why do I try to build this up as we building it up, for example? But also, why do I use Notion? Why do I need now Clay for a CRM and so on? What is a CRM in the first place? So the thing is, these are a very huge variety of questions depending on the tools people came across over the time. And like, I saw a comment about the folder structure that I shared on YouTube, where one person said, out of thousands, but at least one said, well, I built all this, it is total overkill, I went back to paper. Okay, great. This is something where clearly you cannot blame me that this is not working for you. I'm using this to be productive every day. And I wouldn't be if I would be on paper. But if this is not for you, the point, right, based on complexity or you established workflows that you have in the place, then don't feel the pressure that you need to build these things up. That's the same way for the Clay integration. If the CRM in a folder is enough for you, perfect. But don't try to build something complex like Clay or Notion and say, well, I now killed these tools. This is not possible if you are not dedicated to it, and if you have no idea, but also thinking about the return of investment. So I always consider, because we moved now our whole support system, the whole membership, all this into a self-built solution using AI, right? But guys, this was over 6 months building every day, working with Claude for thousands of dollars per month that we've invested making this possible for you guys. And this was the return of investment, having now all you guys in there enjoying this. And thanks for the feedback. I just want to address here a comment I saw about bugs and hiccups, especially on the weekend. Yes, this was the rollout of the 5.0 version. It's live now, and you should have a much more stable version there. And for any other hiccups that you might see or glitches, feel free to reach out on the support and we will catch up. But be sure we have a list of things that we can follow up. But I'm really happy, as everything feels a lot smoother inside the membership than ever before. So that was a huge step forward. But is it worth for you to create something like this too? Probably not, because even that just the building took 6 months. It is also thinking about this. And this was launched in 2018 when I started the paperless movement, and I built the first tool comparison website for myself on WordPress. 2019, I launched a membership and I built the first membership platform. Then I used pre-made membership platforms. I was working with the developers on these membership platforms, Mighty Networks, Circle, all these, you name it. So there's a bit different level of experience when it comes to building such things than that now I was able to deliver to Claude to perfectly know what Claude should do there to build this, the database structure in the backend and all these things. So I don't believe at all that a person who has no clue and is not an expert in something to replace somebody who was an expert in it. I don't think so.
Correct.
So
Correct.
that's the same, that applies to all the other things in your work life, right? You need to realize the things that you have friction and find something that removes this friction, or work that you hate doing. As I always say, I always try to find ways to either delegate, automate, or now you can use AI as automation there too. This is the thing. So just by removing small friction points in your work, it helps you overall to become more productive. It doesn't mean that you replace everything. And it was always the case. And the same applies here too with AI. And the danger here is that AI suggests you or gives you the feeling that you can do now it all, do it all. And you go very far, very fast, but then you will hit a wall. And then you know, oh my God, I wasted all this time for nothing. But to be honest, that was always the case when people implemented Notion templates and tried to make it work for months, or Obsidian, right? For Paco, 1.5 years. We both tried to adapt Obsidian and make it work, and it
Yeah, I'm
is in the
forcing the
end
things,
forcing the
because, for
things.
instance,
Yeah.
Obsidian that was, designed mainly to store information. The moment that you try to put the second layer, that it's action, okay, the second pillar, the second area of any productivity system, well, I force the things to the limit and I create an action system there. And that's how we concluded, okay, that any tool, even the LLMs, okay, the AI companies, they have weaknesses. We should never forget, no matter how amazing AI is, that it's software. At the end, it's software, and it has weaknesses and a strength. And there are places or areas or workflows where they really shine, and some others where it's literally a waste of time, okay, a waste of time. We keep saying, that making a planning for a busy professional, okay, in real time in a calendar and letting AI manage that, it's impossible, okay? It will fail. It will fail. It will depend, obviously, in the complexity of your real life, okay? But we try to think and tend to think that the life of a professional is quite complicated, full of nuances that only himself or herself has. And it's you that know those subtleties, because trying to communicate that and giving the context to the LLM, it's impossible because it's constantly changing. And that's why, for instance, in those type of workflows, AI is failing and it doesn't make sense. That's why we double down on saying a real planner like Sunsama, a real task management like Todoist, they will perform amazingly well, because also they are constantly, because now we can take, because it seems like if I'm using Todoist, I'm missing opportunities of using AI. And that's not the case, because those companies are also using AI to develop even faster, better features. Also implementing AI, I'm amazed by how well, again, Linear is bringing AI to their tool. It's little by little and little by little, they are perfectly identifying specific use cases that they know that creates friction, and how, without leaving the tool, you can use them inside. Well, you are taking advantage at that level, okay, without the need of, developing something like Linear, that if I'm not wrong, I think that they are 200 guys, I don't know, or 100 guys. Imagine expert developers dedicated full-time to deliver a tool. How come I'm going? Because also people think that developing this type of tool, for instance, Tom said, how long it took. In my case, it was a simple PKA. I started in November of the last year. So I'm talking about 7 months of polishing, of back and forth, of creating different releases, of wasting time, of, a lot of friction. At the end, I'm happy with it. I am, okay? I am. But right now, and we can see how things can really become really complicated. I'm dealing with 170 tables. I have just made the query, okay? And how many? 23 agents. Well, that's a layer of complexity in my productivity system that I need to handle, to polish, to simplify, to gain clarity, to remove redundancies. Because when you are designing and developing things on the fly, okay, you don't have the overall picture of the whole map that you are trying to solve, okay? And this is something that takes time. You need to like it or even love it, okay? You need to save time to do that. And also you need to see a reward of that effort, because if not, you're gonna get frustrated, okay? Like the people who started using Tana and took it to the limit, okay? To really creating a monster there that it was impossible to manage. And I think that going back to the starting point of our conversation, knowing the solid principles, detecting the gaps in your product system and putting AI and deciding what needs to be custom made. That's why because we are not saying that now you don't need to develop by yourself things that are quite simple and the ROI is guaranteed, okay? And we are seeing real examples, not just the two nerdy guys like you and I, but people in myICOR members that they have improved a lot thanks to those implementation. Well, that's the perfect balance, the sweet spot that depends on each person, okay? But you can find a sweet spot where everything becomes common sense, and you can bet on your PKA or the system that you have created for the things that matters to you, and that's it.
Yeah, fully agree. And I would like to close the discussion here with a comment from Stuart. Is it just me, or is it amazing how versatile ICOR is? System first, tool second. It absorbs whatever you already use and whatever changes next. Thanks so much for sharing this comment. And I think that's a perfect marketing message we could just put out there as is, because it just encapsulates exactly what ICOR is all about and what our ultimate goal was, that it makes it work no matter the circumstances or the tools that you're using. And that's what we are really proud of, that this is now, well, more than 4 years business proven, and obviously for our whole lives already business proven concepts and workflows there. Guys, thanks so much for joining again today, and we will catch you up next week. Well, let's see what we will share. This time we didn't share the screen. Let's see next week if we have anything else in addition.
Yeah.
Okay. Guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See you.